Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session with the Black Box Company. My name is Tristan Jones, the Chief of Growth at Black Box, and here to you today to talk through how we go and work with producers on looking at the ADG at an individual animal level, but then being able to trace that back to something really quite powerful, which is looking at the influence of breed, the influence of sire, and the influence of property with an ADG for those animals on farm. So I'm going to jump straight in. We've got a demo dashboard up here that you can see, and we're going to walk through the process that we go through with producers on how to identify this information and just how quickly and easy it is with a bit of easy information to set up. The information that's required from this for ADG is just the individual animal, weight and age. And if you're looking at including breed data, you can bring that in as well. That could be coming through from your Gallagher box or any other crush side device. And then if you're looking at sire and dam, we can trace back to those levels. Then for sire and dam, just as long as you've got that information, we can upload it into our system, and then you'll have complete traceability all the way back to sire, which is the example we're going to go through today. So we're going to jump straight into this dashboard. This is our growing management dashboard. For those of you that already use Black Box, you'll be very, very familiar with it. It's looking at the performance of animals that are currently on the farm. For those of you new to it, this is probably one of our most popular dashboards, and it'll also be one of our commonly used because it is looking at that animal performance of animals right there and then. So something you can make a direct influence on and really get an understanding of what's happening out on your property from the view of a dashboard back in the office. So I'm going to go in and put a couple of filters on now, and that's going to be looking at just narrowing down this information to exactly what we're going to be able to get the right insights out from. So if I look up the top left here, we've got a filter function. So I'm going to click on this, and then you can see there's all these different ways that we can filter the information we've got. Now, to make it really quite powerful, we want to be looking at breeds and the animals that are on our system that have got a breed allocated to it. So for that one here, I can see that all these breeds are selected: F1, F2, full blood, bred Brahman, Wagyu, for example. And hit filter by these 5 breeds. You'll now see that this data set, and in particular this graph in the middle, has removed any of those unknowns out of there. So that's all been removed out, which is excellent. Now we're going to look at our size. We know the endpoint of this little demonstration today is going to be looking at tracing it back to a sire. So we want to go and then filter on the animals that have a sire verified to them. So we're going to go down again, click on sires, make sure that we're looking at all the sires. Obviously this information's been scrambled, so these names won't mean anything, but we're going to click all sires, and then what we're going to do is we're going to unselect unknown. Now it's important because it means that only the animals that are verified with a sire will actually show on our dashboard now. So we're going to filter by those 12 sires. We can see now that the number that we initially had was 1,700 as an example. It's now filtered all the way down to 37 head of animals that have a sire verified within our system. So that's really important because you want to be looking at the information that's going to get the result that you're after. Obviously, if you have more animals that are sire verified, the number will be a lot larger. So first, what we're going to look at is we've got this data first weight. Now, when we're working through with producers all around the country, it's really about getting this to be as a regular routine as possible. Now, with that, we try and work through if this is maybe a monthly task or a quarterly task, choosing those animals that are next up for you to start having a look through. And for us, we're going to easily select the animals from September last year. So we're going to click and drag. We've highlighted this bar. We know the numbers now changed from 37 head to 32. So that is the total amount of animals that had a date of first weight in September last year. And now what we're going to do is actually move down to this bottom graph, weeks on growing versus total weight gain. So we've got weeks on growing across the bottom, total weight gained across the top or the side. And you can see that this information, there's one little outlier down here that's sitting at 30 to 40 kilos worth. And then the majority of the animals are sitting 60 to 80 kilo in weight gained over that time, all the way up to around 130, 140 kilos. So now we can start to see that depth of what our high performers are, and that's gaining up to 140 kilos over that time period. Now low performers sitting down around that 60 to 70 kilos as well. So quite a big variance, almost half for some of these animals now between the top and the bottom performers. And that's where we want to start drilling into. What insights and what trends can we see from that information when we start to dig into it. So much like we did with the data first weight graph, we're going to jump onto this graph here, weeks on growing versus total weight gained. I'm going to draw another box to identify our high performers. And as you can see, the information is constantly changing as I'm making that selection. So we look at here, if we look at the high performers, the top 10, so the top third of that animal count is looking at a 1.09 ADG. And then what we want to do is we're going to start moving this down, and we're going to start moving it down to see, that's our top performers. What's the gap to our bottom performers now? We've got 1.09 is where we started. We're moving it down, and moving it down to 0.89. 0.89, 18 head, which is actually 49% of the head count we had selected. So it represents nearly half, which is good. It means it's quite an interesting stat where we want to make sure we're looking at those animals because it's representing quite a large number. And now we want to go through, right, we've got our low performers selected. We can see the gap between the high performers at 1.09 ADG to 0.89 ADG is at 0.2. So now we're going to look at, well, for those ones, the animals that are below that by that much, by 0.2, what are the trends in that information? What links them back? We can see now, if we're looking at a breed graph, 11% represented by F2s, but Wagyu are actually presented by 89%. Now, obviously, if you're a Wagyu operation, then there's probably not going to be a breed decision out of it. You're going to be like, well, that's okay, because predominantly most of our breeds are animals are Wagyu. However, we then want to take that back to going, well, if we are looking at single breed on our property, then maybe we want to take it back to genetics and looking at those sires. So does a sire dominate or does a particular sire dominate the amount of animals that are representing the lower cohort? And it looks like it here. As much as this is a scrambled number, you can see that there is one sire that is dominating your lower performing animals from an ADG perspective only. So we can now click on that and go, right, there's 17 head, and they are our bottom performers, and they're all linked to this one sire. So you can now start to look at, well, okay, maybe when we're going through the progeny that we're planning out for next year, then this sire may not be one that completely fits the bill. There'll be other factors we can look into in other sessions where we can trace back the influence of marbling score and that kind of thing back to a sire level as well, so you can get a full picture if you're chasing that balance between ADG and marbling. But right now we've been able to go for all the animals that had a first weighed September last year. We can now look at our high and low performers, the gap between them, if there was any trends in breed and if there was any trends in size, and we're able to do that really, really quickly. And then when it starts to get really interesting is we can actually go across to this right-hand side here, add current selection to the list. I'm going to click this. It's not going to come up with any animal IDs. Normally you'd see animal IDs up here. And what this is actually going to do now is it's going to allow you to take this list, push it back down to your crush side system. If you wanted to draft off those animals that are sitting in that lower performing cohort, maybe it's time to move them on, getting to a point in the season where feed's not available or it's expensive, and you really want to be making sure you've got your top performing animals that are getting the most out of that feed, especially when they've been there already for just over a year. So that way, we've got this information now, we can put it back to our crush side system, we can make a management decision on the genetics, and we can draft out any animals that aren't performing well for us. So that was a quick snapshot of one of the most useful tools within our system, how simple and easy it is to use Blackbox. I hope you really enjoyed it. I'm going to be running many more sessions like this and to give you some more insights on how to best take advantage of the Blackbox system. Thank you very much.